Today is November 12th, 2015. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Carroll Ritchie in Bartlesville, Oklahoma for the Eisenhower Library. Sir, where were you born?
Los Angeles, California.
And when's your birthday?
June 1st, 1928.
1928. Who was your father?
Father was Carroll E. Ritchie, Sr.
And your mother?
My mother was Elizabeth Shane.
That was her maiden name?
That was her maiden name.
Okay. Did you go through school in Los Angeles?
Yes, sir.
You graduated what year?
From
high school.
From high school. I did not graduate from high school.
Okay.
I joined the Army.
Okay. What type of work did your father do?
He was in the newspaper business.
Okay.
Worked in the classified section of the paper, Los Angeles Times.
Okay. Were you aware of the rise of Hitler in Germany when you were in school?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when the Japanese invaded China in the 30s?
I don't recall that was a big thing for the children at that time, so I really didn't have too much of a recall on that.
Okay. What do you think of the rise of Hitler in Germany?
Well, it was naturally, it turned out to be a disaster, but the way that he did it was to work on the people with regards to telling them what a wonderful advantage it would be for them to do what he wanted. And of course he had people that were out there in the neighborhoods enforcing his beliefs. So, and his treatment of the Jewish people was a terrible thing, of course.
Do you recall how the Depression affected you and your family?
It fortunately did not depress my family because my mother was employed by the city of Los Angeles and my dad was in the newspaper business. Yeah.
Now, did you live in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What chores did you do around the house?
Other than taking care of my own room and also a little bit of yard work, we always rented our house. Okay. So there was a lawn to cut, but other than that, tidying up the yard, there was not a whole lot.
Okay, hold on. How often would you go to the movies?
Every week.
Every week.
Yes. That was the way that my mother got rid of us kids, because she worked all week and she had things to do on Saturday.
How many siblings in your family?
3.
3, okay.
Right. I was the older of the 3 boys.
Who was your favorite actor in those days? Actor or actress? As a youngster, probably Tom Mix or Gene Autry, maybe. Of course, in
Roy Rogers,
yes.
Of course.
In the movies, they had the color cartoon and News of the World.
That is correct, right?
Yes.
Every Saturday.
Yes. Did they, in the news, did they show what's going on in China and Europe and all this in the newsreel?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. Did you think we'd get involved in one of those wars, the war in China or the war in Europe?
There wasn't really much talk about that in my family, and nor do I recall there was much talk about it at all. So I think that was one of the things about America being independent and isolated as it is and was, so that we were all considered to be safe from that kind of thing.
Where were you December 7th, 1941?
I was in my kitchen with my mother.
When you heard about the attack on Hawaii, what'd you think?
I asked my mother, do you think this would last long enough for me to join? I was 13 and a half, and she said, I sure hope not.
Did you think the Japanese would invade the West Coast?
It was always considered to be a possibility.
Did you have blackouts in Los Angeles at this time?
Yes, there were.
How'd you black out all the lights in your house? What'd you do?
Pull down the shades. It wasn't something that went on too long.
Okay.
So it was something that happened occasionally. So
Now, did you receive news of how the war was progressing? You know, in 42, the early part of the war.
Other than the Saturday news in the movies, I don't really recall any other news.
We weren't doing too well. So the Philippines fell,
Yeah, correct.
all this. Were you aware of the fall of the Philippines? Did you?
I heard about it. However, you know, when you're 14, 15 years old, that kind of news is especially an island in the Pacific, which really did not have much connection with America at that time. It really didn't. It was not something that seemed to be crucial.
After the war started, did you help with the scrap metal drives or rubber drives?
I think, yes, we were involved.
Where'd you take the scrap metal?
You know, I can't remember the destination, but it was probably at a school location.
Of course, understand all the big Hollywood stars were out supporting the war effort too, selling war bonds or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see any of the actors out and about supporting the war effort?
I did not.
Okay. Okay. So, when did you quit school?
Quit school the day that went into the Army. So it would have been in January of 46.
January 46.
Right.
What's your enlistment date on your?
February the 4th.
4th February 1946.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Why did you join the Army over the Navy or the Marines?
I really didn't think about either the Marines or the Navy, and it seemed that the Army enlistment location which was downtown Los Angeles, seemed to be the place to go. It was the end of the red car line, which went from El Sereno, a little neighborhood in Los Angeles, right there. It ended right at practically.
Where'd you go for your basic training?
Shepherd Field, Texas.
Shepherd Field.
Wichita Falls, Texas.
Now, did you request the Air Corps?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay.
I was assigned to the Air Corps.
Okay. Tell me about the trip to Shepherd Field.
Very interesting. It took 7 days by train from Los Angeles to Shepherd Field.
Why 7 days?
Well, for one thing, they evidently did feel that it was urgent to get us there, and we stopped in almost every little town along the way. And I noticed that quite frequently as we were traveling down the tracks, that we would be put off on the side rail while a really important train, maybe with transporting materials or something, had priority. So That was one of the things that kept us from being real fast.
The old-fashioned train.
Yeah, and the cars, you would not believe they had to be over 100 years old.
Where'd you sleep on the train?
In our seats. Right.
How about the meals on the train?
I don't even recall those.
Did the train stop you to get off, or they serve the meals on the train, or do you recall?
No, I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd
But
you pass the time on the trip?
looking out the window.
When you're on the siding, what would you do?
Looking out the window. Yes.
Tell me about basic training.
Basic training. Upon arrival, we were all set up in barracks, of course, and unfortunately, 2 weeks after I got there, I got pneumonia, and so I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks on the base. And by the time I had gotten out of the hospital, those troopers that were from California had moved on through the process of basic training, so I get to make some new friends from Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, a lot of places on the East Coast. So that was kind of an unusual situation too. All good guys, of course.
What type of training did you have in basic?
Basic was some of it was weapons training. They showed you how to use a carbine and a pistol, and it would have been a .45 caliber pistol, and which I made marksman with, and then of course the showing you how to take care of yourself, especially in your living situation, how to keep your bunk made right, your area cleaned up properly, and so on and so forth. And marching, plenty of marching practice, and it was other just basic parts of military.
Okay. I'd like to back up.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do in VJ Day when the war ended?
VJ Day when the war ended. I went to my father and he said, "Well, okay, well maybe I will write a parental permission for you to join," which at that time was required. It had to be written permission if you were under 18. And but he said, I want to talk to your school counselor first. So that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Was there a big celebration in your area?
Pretty much so. Yeah, a lot of celebrating as far as knowing that the war was over.
Did you celebrate?
No, I don't recall.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Now back to Shepherd Field.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the forced marches in basic training?
Yes.
How long were they?
Usually they were, now when you say the forced marches, no, I don't believe so, because we were Air Force and we were being trained to be actually either in flight work or in tech work. Okay. So, we're pretty much away from what we would call battlefield practice.
Tell me about your drill instructors.
The drill instructors were pretty much the type that always you see in the movies. They were all tough guys, and pretty much expecting you to respect them and to do as they said, and then if you didn't, then of course there'd be things that you had to do which probably you didn't like KP duty and maybe guard duty and things like that.
Did you pull KP?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Tell me about KP.
KP was a kitchen police. That was a function that you got in there with the regular guys who were assigned to do that work all the time, the cooks and so on and so forth. And it was mostly the cooks were in there, and maybe some kitchen helpers, but they were the basic part of the kitchen, and those people who were assigned to help out in there because they were a little off in their behavior. There were plenty of those, and they actually did the cleanup, did dishes, and any other jobs that the cooks would have tried to assign to them. On one occasion where I really deserved it, there was an exhaust fan which was full of charcoal, and they told me, "We want you to get up there and clean that out." That was a good job.
Did you have any slackers in your company in basic?
Probably did, but I can't remember any one in particular. They were pretty much they kept their eye on us all the time.
Okay.
So
How long did basic last?
it lasted from February to, I believe it was October.
Okay. From Shepherd Field, where did you go?
From Shepherd Field, I went to Scott Field, which is in East St. Louis, Illinois, and that's where I went for my teletype operator training.
Tell me about your teletype training.
First of all, I had to learn how to use a typewriter, because I'd never used a typewriter before, and that was a big part of it. And then the use of the teletype machine, and that's about all I can recall about that.
What is teletype?
Teletype was the sending of messages. I believe it was like a radio sending, and also it could be by telephone lines. So as far as the actual mechanics of it, we were pretty much out of that, and with regard to using it, most of it, the use of the teletype that I was in was, I never knew what the message was because they were all secretly coded and transmitted for instructions to other units.
Now, did you send and receive messages, or just send?
Did both. The receipt of them was just simply just taking them, making sure that they were printed and delivered.
Okay. Now, how is a teletype powered?
By electric.
Electric. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is the teletype still used today?
You know, I'm not sure that it is, because there's been so much technical advance in communication. I'm not really sure.
Okay. What's your most vivid memory of your teletype training?
Probably being being away from the training, and being on the flight line. That was one of my big things that I love to do, and probably the most thrilling moment of my being on that flight line was watching a P-86 jet come across the field and stand on its tail and go straight up in the air. It was, you know, the jets were new at that time, and it was just a fantastic impression. Whenever I would get the opportunity, I would go down to the flight lines and my time off and ask them if they had a flight that I could ride on going someplace. And I did that frequently. I'd get on a plane and go and then come back. And
Had you flown before?
I know I had not.
Tell me about your first flight.
My first flight. Well, I think it would have probably been on the C-47, which was a two-engine transport, you know, a tail dragger, and sitting next to, there's no insulation, and you sit next to the wall, and I can't remember destination on it, but it was just a flight.
Why is it called a tail dragger?
Because most of the planes manufactured thereafter were what they call they had a wheel up front, which was helped with the steering, and then the two regular landing wheels that were following it. The tail dragger had two landing wheels, and then in the back it had a very small wheel, so that when you look at it, the plane is slanted back where the tail was almost on the ground. Because most of the planes now they're level.
How long are you at Scott Field?
Scott Field. Let me see. Did I have that here? Yes, I was there October, and I'm not really sure, but I think it was probably about 6 months.
Okay. From Scott Field, where did you go?
I went to Carswell Air Force Base, Fort Worth, Texas.
What did you do there?
I did what my training prepared me for. I was a teletype operator in the communications section of the Air Force.
Now, were you assigned to the unit?
know, I'm not really sure I remember any unit assignment. I was just assigned to the base itself, the communications
So
section.
would that be headquarters in Carswell, or?
Yes, it was headquarters for the 8th Air Force.
Okay, okay. What was your job there?
A teletype operator.
Now, is everything still in code?
Yes, sir. Well, when you say everything, the majority of
Okay.
the messages, yes.
Now, were you there when the Berlin Airlift started?
Yes, I was.
Did you have any connection with the Berlin Airlift?
Well, what had happened was that I was in let's see here, in March of '46, I was sent to the Marshall Islands.
46, 47.
I'm sorry, in March of '48, I was
Okay,
sent to the Marshall Islands on the island of Kwajalein to do communications in connection with the Operation Sandstone, which was the atomic bomb testing at that time.
Okay.
And the bomb was set off in Weetok Island, 180 miles of the Marshall Islands are a long chain. And I was there for 2.5 months. And then I was sent back to Carswell, Fort Worth, and 1 week later, they said that we need somebody to go to England in support of the Berlin Airlift, and so turned right around and went overseas to London, stationed at Marham Royal Air Force Base.
How do you spell that, Marham?
Marham.
M-A-R-H-A-M.
Yes, sir.
Now, what did you do in support of the Berlin Airlift?
Communications.
Still a teletype operator?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
Now, was that top secret?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All of practically all of the communications was top secret.
Okay. Now, did you have a top secret clearance?
I didn't, because I did not compose the messages.
Okay.
I only transmitted them.
Okay. So there's no danger of someone sneaking in and stealing the messages, breaking the code, whatever?
No.
How tight was security when the teletype?
I don't recall that there was a lot, but there were no outsiders allowed in the communications room.
Who composed the messages?
They had a special crew that did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they in the same area as you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They were same folks, the same guys that I lived with on base.
Okay. Now, when they were composing messages, were they in a separate area,
Yes.
secured area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, always. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how to ask this question, but how were the messages coded?
Well, it was a very unusual way of doing it, but what it was 5 letters in a row, and then there would have been I think 6 columns, and so they would be there, and then the next line was the same thing, and then the next line was the same thing, and that's all it was.
But you had no idea what you were sending.
No idea whatsoever.
Now, the airplanes in the Berlin Airlift, were they taken off from England or West Germany?
They were taking off, I believe, from West Germany.
Okay.
Right. and they flew over into the airport there, and the airport was fenced off so that it made very, very difficult for them to actually land there. But you can keep that if you like.
Oh, okay, thank you. Was there any danger of the Soviets shooting down any of the airplanes?
No, they weren't going to be aggressive in that manner, because what their job was to close off Berlin so they could take control of it. And if the United States could not, and England could not help the Berliners with what they needed, then of course the Russians would step in and supply them, and then the population then would go along with Russia. And we were not going to go along with that.
Did you do anything besides teletype to support the Berlin Airlift?
No, sir.
Okay. The Berlin Airlift lasted how long?
I believe it lasted for another year or so.
Okay. How long were you in England?
4.5 months.
What was the reaction of the local people to you?
It was, I think, fairly acceptable, because the fact that it was just a continuation of what had been happening for the last 4 years. You know, that we were helping out over there.
What's the local town near the Marham base?
Marham.
The town of Marham?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You get to Marham?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about the town of Marham.
Typical small English town. Nothing really to celebrate about. I mean, that's where people lived.
You go to the pubs?
The girlfriend. I don't know where the girlfriend came from.
Well, we did have dances at the base there, and I did take a girl home to Marham. As I was walking down the street after delivering her to our house, there was 3 or 4 guys walking on the other side of a canal. There was a canal in the street that I was walking on, and they said, "Any gum, chum?" And I said, "Only in the mouth." And they kind of just smiled and kept on going. But you kept wondering. The GI was very much accepted there. The one thing that impressed me most about England at that time was the food, which was really basic. You know, there was very little what you call luxury food, and or tasty food. It was really just enough to keep you alive.
Yes. Any USO shows come through while you were there?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What's your most vivid memory of England?
I guess a trip to London a couple of times.
What did you do in London?
Just kind of wandered around and looked at things. You know, at that time, the damage that was done by German aircraft was so impressive and visible that it was something. Yeah. So went to a nice restaurant. Had my picture taken by the Thames River, and otherwise I don't remember anything really super special on it.
So
I did go to pubs. Pubs were a better situation in England than they were in the United States. The United States did not want you to be at a pub. He didn't care if you were a GI or not. You know, if you weren't 21, you were out.
Yes.
Yeah. And in England, I think it was 18 years of age. Yeah, so.
From England, where did you go?
From England back to Fort Worth, and to kind of, let's see, that was, didn't have much time left then, because I went back in, what was it, went back to there in November. Got back to Carswell on the 9th of November of 48, and then I got discharged from service on January 4th.
49.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you flew back to the States from England, what route did you take?
Let's see, it would probably been a duplicate of the route that we took before, and that was the air base at Marham, and went from there to the air base I'm not sure if it was an air base or what it was, but anyway, landed in Ireland, and from there to Newfoundland, and from there to Florida, and from there to Texas.
What airplane were you flying? You in?
That was a, let me see, I can't remember whether that, I think it was, because it was, we had to make so many stops, it was a C-47.
Okay. Was it a new airplane? Was it an old airplane?
I'm not really sure. They were all fairly good, fairly new.
Yeah, I understand the C-47 has a good record.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Very dependable.
So what did you do in Fort Worth until you were discharged?
Just did my duty and my job.
Teletype?
Yes, teletype, right. Yeah.
So you were discharged, and what do you do?
Discharged and went home, and my folks had lived in a different type of smaller structure, since they had just themselves and my, I guess two of my brothers were still there, and then we all moved to a bigger place, and to really to accommodate the larger family. And I went to community college for a year, and then I went to USC for a year, and then I worked off and on at the various jobs. And then I got married.
What was your area of study?
I wanted to be an optometrist. However, with my limited background in high school, there were a lot of scientific courses that I had never taken in high school. And frankly, they were uninteresting to me. I guess that would be the best description that I can make of them. And So I decided I wasn't going to be an optometrist. So
What'd you study? What did you study?
what did I study? The regular courses that would get me a college degree.
Okay. Where'd you meet your wife?
I met my wife at the Palladium in Hollywood.
What is the Palladium?
Where is the Palladium?
Well, what is the Palladium?
Oh, the Palladium was a famous dance hall.
Okay.
It's where all of the famous orchestras used to play. The Artie Shaw and Glenn Miller, all of the big names in the band business. And she was there because she had a friend of hers visiting her from New York, and the friend wanted to see that dance place and so on and so forth. And so when I met her, she was I think waiting for her girlfriend to get back from being asked to dance, and so I asked her to dance. And I had borrowed my friend's car, which was I think it was a 1940 Cadillac convertible. So I said, I could give you a ride home. And she said, oh, I don't know about that. And her girlfriend had actually driven them to the Palladium. So she said, well, okay, but she said, and the girlfriend said, well, she said, I'll be following you in my car. So she lived in Burbank, so I took her to Burbank, and we delivered her to the house, and then I went back to where I lived.
What's your wife's name?
Rose.
Rose.
Yeah. Rose Giglio. It's Giglio, and she was born in Italy and came over here when she was a year and a half old.
When'd you get married?
We got married in April 1953.
So where'd you go to work after you got your education?
I worked in the United States Post Office for 3 years, and decided that was probably not a way to go for my whole working life. So then I went to work for a savings and loan, and worked for several of those. Actually only two. And then after the savings and loan, I went to work for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, because I had good experience in the real estate field from the savings loan, and they were looking for real estate agents, and wound up being a property manager in the Sierra Mountains for the Department of Water and Power.
Well,
That was my last job.
When'd you come to Bartlesville?
Came to Bartlesville in December of 1997.
Why'd you come here?
Well, I met this lady.
His first wife died.
Oh,
Yeah, my
She's-
first
she's
wife.
history.
Yeah, my first wife died in January of 1996.
Yes.
I didn't wake up from that.
Yeah. And then in June of 1997, I went to an elder hostel in Northern California, and on the advice of a good friend of mine who I'd worked with. He and his wife and I went up there, and then I met Joyce, and we liked each other, and and she invited me to visit her in her summer cabin home up in Lake Michigan. I'm in Lake Superior, up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So we visited for a few days, and then I went home, and she and I communicated frequently, and then she came out to my house in Bishop, California, and then we visited there for a few days, and then she went back, and we decided we would get married, and we got married in December. Yeah.
He liked Oklahoma very much.
Yes.
He was very taken by the landscape.
Now, did you live here?
Yes.
I lived right here. I've been here 50 years,
Okay.
see, while all this was going on, practically. But the thing that impressed him about Oklahoma was the expanse of the land. You know,
Yeah.
he was, Los Angeles area is just thick and stacked, you know, and he's always talked about this. Every time we go for a ride, he said, I just love looking at this expanse.
Yeah, I love it.
But he liked that job in California with the water and power and
Yes.
the land up in the northern part. He liked that job very, very much.
It was on the eastern side of the Sierra Mountains, and very unique. It was called High Desert. It was at 4,000 feet elevation, and a wonderful place to work. And I had a beautiful home there, but I couldn't convince this one to come away from Bartlesville.
So you moved to Oklahoma.
So I moved to Oklahoma. Right.
Would you join the Army again? Or the Air Corps again?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Tell you what happened. When I was on Quadraline, periodically they evaluate the GIs, the troops, with regards to an eye of are they entitled to a increase in rank. And so on Quadraline, because of the weather, everybody just dressed in khakis, and they were khaki shorts, as a matter of fact. Well, I got a call, and this new second lieutenant was evaluating me, and I arrived at the evaluation site, and I had on a pair of moccasins, and he said, those are not regular uniform, and I forget what kind of an excuse I gave him. But anyway, he evaluated me, and it was not a very good evaluation. So I did not make an extra stripe. I was a corporal at that time, and if I would have been really on the ball, I could have probably gotten an extra stripe and been a buck sergeant. Well, when I got discharged, at my discharge, the guy who was filling out the paper said, would you like to re-enlist for another term? And I said, well, gee, I don't think so. He said, I can get you another stripe. And I said, no, I think I've had enough. So if I would have been a buck sergeant, then I could have been had another stripe. I would have been a staff sergeant, which might have. It's what happens is it determines your life. Really, it's amazing, just amazing.
On Quadraline, what did you do for the atomic bomb test?
Mainly it was also the communications, and then I had an interesting assignment. I would sometimes be on the flight line, and they would have they'd have flights come in that had very important persons on them, like government or or even high ranked guys, generals. And Kwajalein is 1 mile wide by about 2.5 miles long. That's the size of it. One of the most impressive things that I saw about it was, of course, it was occupied by the Japanese before we took it. There were only 3 palm trees on the entire island because it was so vastly bombed. And in the surf outside of the island were tanks and trucks and all kinds of Japanese equipment, which had actually just been blown off the island by the bombing. But anyway, the job that I had on occasion was to get into a jeep and take that very important person up to what we called the VIP mess, which was about 1.5 miles away from the flight line. And so then I would take them up there, and then they would be fed up there by this special cook up there. Cook never invited me to eat.
What do you think of the atomic bomb?
It was a tool to shorten the war, and there were many people who regretted the use of it, but as was mentioned many times thereafter, it helped shorten the war, and that was the important part. The tool part of it is, I hope that we never lose control of that, because especially if there were multiple uses of at one time, it could be a destroyer of our world. But anyway, and I think that the knowledge that it could happen that way is kept people from getting into it. The only thing is that can we depend on everybody being sensible? That's the question.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
The first one is Adolf Hitler.
A bad man who was a convincing leader of the German people.
Basic training.
Necessary to make a person, man or woman, step from civilian to military life.
Teletype.
A communicator of military information.
Berlin blockade.
A way of the American people to tell the Russians that this is where we stand and we're going to stay there.
England.
A great place for English people.
C-47.
A very reliable airplane and transport, and one of the last really reliable propeller-driven aircraft.
Franklin Roosevelt.
I think a great leader and a practical man.
Harry Truman.
One who was able to step into the job regardless of the fact that he had little background for the job.
Dwight Eisenhower.
A great military leader.
How do you want to be remembered?
As a good guy.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. No, like I said in the beginning, I never really considered myself a hero. I considered myself in the job that I had to do for the military and the country, of course.
But everybody did something.
It was a necessary position. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked me to do it.
Well, sir, this is a very good interview.
Well, thank you very much, Joe.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Well, thank you, Joe.
And again, this is November 12th, 2015. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Carroll Ritchie in Bartlesville, Oklahoma for the Eisenhower Library. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.